Cool. Hi guys, so I'm going through the final pillar in this video of the well-architected framework series, right? So cost optimization is the other pillar where you'll find instances where people are actually using way too much resources or way too much money on Azure that is actually uh, not what is recommended by the Azure Well Architecture Framework, right? So the first thing to handle this is things like budget expenses and being able to track what is being spent is actually something that is driven by team culture, right? If your team doesn't have access to production or whatever environments, they are not actually able to see the costs and they are not able to see if we are going off budget, right? Azure gives you a lot in terms of this, where you can set budget caps on your resource group level, storage, what you call resource level, on your subscription level as well, right? You can set up alerts as well to get to this kind of thing. Now, another thing that we see in this kind of pillar is people just auto scaling to high amounts where effectively cost business a lot of money, right? So there is mitigation strategies where you can set up auto scaling thresholds and all of that that you know for sure will be within budget, right? Spend on what you need to achieve your return on investment. This idea is straightforward. Do not spend money on something that doesn't give you resources. That cool code that you wrote ages ago that runs in the background to check if there's no one else. If that code is not required anymore, that background process, delete it because it is actually costing us money, right? Be sure to keep latest features running. Things like your data factory data bricks kind of spaces. That's where expenses are actually being blown out a lot because we have pipelines for data that is not being used and all of those kind of things. So continuously revisit this and make sure that it's fit for purpose and actually giving some sort of return on investment. The other thing is maximize the use of your resources. I think on the previous pillar I mentioned using what do you call compute that you can downscale and all of that, use it to increase reliability and all of that. Being able to spread out your loads when the system is working, there's no need to actually, let's say, for example, you're reading a file, there's no need to actually process the entire file in milliseconds if you're going to process one file in, well, the whole day essentially, right? You can spread out your load properly with other mechanisms so that you can literally avoid spikes in your CPU usage or your memory usage or whatever the case might be. So think about those kind of strategies that you can deploy there. And maximize, that's what I was talking about. Increase efficiency with what you have, right? That's exactly what I was talking about. Some of the things you don't need to upscale your resources to premium SKs and all of that. You don't always need to throw money at your problem. Sometimes you actually need to relook at your architecture, relook at your implementation, relook at your dependencies to try see if you can increase the efficiency of the system, right? Periodically refine. I think I've been tampering on top of this issue one too many times, where I'm saying consistently go back and look at your architecture and change it, right? One of the things that we normally see happening is teams will have shared log analytic workspaces. This kind of shared log analytic workspaces across a business unit or across the organization work well when you have a central platform team of sorts that will be able to incur these costs and basically regulate who has access and how they can do it, right? And the other things that we kind of see is people, well, the other things that people can do is consider constantly monitor usage, right? Sometimes you had a big feature that was deployed that required you to use P1, V2 for argument's sake on an app service plan. And you downscale the solution. What it means is you have a lot of compute, then you can kind of clean up, consistently go back and clean up your resources as well, right? And sometimes the other things that people do is they use consumption based plan, but that can actually get expensive at certain times where, let's say, for example, your usage is high, or you have cases where you know exactly how much compute you can use. Sometimes you get that using a fixed pricing model becomes a lot cheaper. So consistently revisit those kind of decisions and see if they are still uh, conforming with your requirements. Reserved instances where you can actually score bonuses, discounts, sorry, from the cloud provider. Most of the time, a lot of cloud providers will actually give discounts when you go into a reserved compute kind of an agreement, right? Uh, yeah, some other things, as I mentioned, team culture vibes. You can actually share resources across a central team, as I mentioned, a platforms team or whatever, right? Things like your application gateway, your front doors, your log analytic workspaces, and all of that. You can try create a deal or negotiate a deal with your cloud provider. Then you share those instances across multiple teams, and basically the cost becomes lower for the entire organization and not necessarily for the team itself, right? Spinning up some of these resources multiple times when the organization is big can actually be very costly. So have a good one, guys. Cut the budget and get the work done. Do not always throw money to your problems. This is not the easiest thing to do all the time. Sometimes it's impossible, but make sure that you exhaust um, your available avenues and make sure that you are making the right decisions. Right, decisions change. Do not be afraid to test out your ideas if needs be. Right. Thank you very much. Have a good one, guys.